First thing he said, "God damn, Zoe, your arms are huge." I was like, "Coach,
Well, they always were.
Coach, I've been working out. I'm ready, man. I'm ready to go."
Oh my Lord, it's been 20 years. But it really had to sink in at the event.
Yeah. When I saw Wayne Simeon
As a grown man.
as a grown
With,
man,
with the
basically,
responsibilities.
I hadn't
Exactly.
seen him in 20 years.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, man, we're back. The band is back, And then I see Dolly with the cowboy hat, So, I mean, they kind of put it all in a perspective that it's been 20 years and how our lives have, relatively changed quite a bit, but at the same time, when you think about what we had accomplished as a group, at that moment it kind of resonated that, man, we did something pretty special. We really did, You don't realize the significance of it when it happened, but looking back on it 20 years later, yeah, it was pretty amazing.
Impressive. Very impressive. So
Yes,
it was a wonderful answer.
Oh,
Because you're a part of the Wild Bunch too. They were the Wild Bunch. Okay, there are at least 5 of them about the Wild Bunch, but they're all good Wild Bunch guys, I mean,
Right.
back in the day. But what he said really did resonate with me. I get pretty emotional about those guys and about that team. And knowing what we all went through basically during the course of the season, how they got there. When I saw Jay Will, he looked like he was 12. He didn't look like he aged anything at all. And when I saw Gary Payton, the first thing he did was give me a 15-strong card. He said, "I got it." He said, "I got it." I said, "Okay, you're still in the club, from that standpoint." And I gave SHAQ a card. And I love the fact that at the gala that night that Bill Ferran came up with the calipers, because, weight and body fat and conditioning was a huge part of that team, but who I am. It's all there is to it. So that's the way it was. Zoe knows all of this back in the early days when we
right.
did this stuff,
right.
from that
But we don't
standpoint.
win it if we weren't in the best shape of our lives. We don't win it. I mean, you see Antoine Walker back then. You see what kind of shape he was in.
Oh, yeah. It's an all-star, wasn't he?
You see SHAQ, he had really gotten down into incredible weight where he was in incredible shape.
I gave Shaquille a card, a blue card I gave him. And that was a year after he got here. When he got here the year before, he was 383 and 18%, something like that. And he could go up there and soak everybody he wants with the water up on the plaza and all that stuff, but he didn't realize who he was dealing with there. So I gave him the card.
That was 385 and then 18, and this is what you went to. I was going to give it to you tonight. That's what you went to that first year. That's when this man got in world-class shape and helped us win a title.
He lost 60. And he had gotten hurt in that first year with Stan. He had gotten hurt in the first round of the New Jersey series, from that standpoint. So conditioning was a big deal. And we used to have a lot of not arguments, but a lot of bad looks and grumpy guys, on those Monday mornings. But I do believe that also at the end, the 8 guys that were playing in those last 4 games, there was a little more energy, a little more pop in our step than there was in theirs. Now, I'm not saying that they weren't in better condition, but we ended up winning those 4 games, and it tells you a lot after about 105 games in the season.
Gentlemen, let's go back to bringing you all back together, bringing this man back into the fold.
My intentions are to come here and to work as hard as I can, to try to help to make this basketball team successful.
In 95, Alonzo, you're part of the beginning of what you're trying to put together. And,
First guy.
And obviously you had your illness with your kidney. And what was the key component to bringing Alonzo back into the fold?
He was always in the back of my mind once he left Toronto. Was it left Toronto or New Jersey?
Yeah, it was New Jersey, got traded to Toronto. I didn't make it to Toronto.
And that was it. And so he was always in the back of my mind that once, we sort of cleared the air with the rebuilding of the team by getting Jay Will Pose and getting Antoine, getting Gary Payton. And I remember Mazzo, I called him on the phone. I said, let's have coffee in Coconut Grove.
Yep.
Somewhere in
We're at
Coconut
the
Grove.
Starbucks in
It's
Coconut
Starbucks.
Grove. We met, and he looked at me. The first thing he said, "God damn, Zoe, your arms are huge." I was like, "Coach, I've been working out. I'm ready, man. I'm ready to go." I remember that was his first
He
word.
played hard to get, though.
Yeah.
All you had to do is give him a basketball and dumbbell. He was fine, and nothing else. But yeah, the arms were big. He was in shape, and I just didn't know up here. Then he had to get over his rift with Shaquille.
Well, I was headed
Whatever
that
that
direction,
was,
Coach. I was headed right to that direction. And not only is it Shaquille, it's a room full of veterans, some who had been together, some who hadn't. And oh, by the way, it's a room that you had been in as the captain before.
You know what, Jackson? The one thing that really moved me to want to be back in Miami was, first of all, the conversation he and I had. And he planted that seed with me at the Palmetto, where we sat on the floor for a couple of hours and we chopped it up.
That was years before.
Yeah. At the Palmetto, we chopped it up, and I learned about what he wanted, and he heard my side of the story and my life, and I told him that he didn't know who I was, and him saying his vision of a parade. I wanted all that to come to fruition because I knew that part of the process of getting there, he brought me here to start that process and us getting there. And I wanted to be a part of that. So from a distance, I saw an opportunity. And it wasn't about anything else but winning. Whatever I needed to do to get back in Miami and coming off the bench, whatever I needed to do, I know I was going to fall in line, be ready when my numbers called, and help contribute the best I could, because I saw something special. I did. I saw something special when I left New Jersey.
Coach, when you put that group together, you put it together as the executive. So the investment in the group has to be high level as it can possibly get. So now you're coming down to coach the group. Is there much of a transition? But because of the investment, you already believed in your pieces, so now you just have to go back to coaching.
Not much, Jax. Once we made that change and I came down, I remember the first meeting that I had with the players in Chicago as their head coach. And this reflects back to what Alonzo just was talking about one day at Palmetto in that old dingy practice court. He said to me after practice, "Coach, you and I need to sit down and talk." And we went over against the bleachers. We sat down. He told me his life story, basically. And I knew some of it, I didn't know the depth of what it was about. I told him a little bit about my background, too. And I remember that very first night that I met with the guys. And I just looked at all of them. I said, "You're all just individuals right now. You're just, you're decorated, you're all-stars, you're all defensive, you're whatever it is, all of these things." We got one 3-time world champion. I think he was the only one, right? Shaquille at that time. And I said, everybody else is a nobody. We're all nobodies now, I haven't won anything for 20 years, almost 20 years. And so the first thing that I think we have to do is get to know each other. I said, "SHAQ, you know GP's kids? What's their names?" He said, "No." Well, Gary Payton Jr. is one of them. Right? I said, that would have been an easy one.
First, right?
But, and I sort of talked to him a little bit about that. I knew they knew enough about each other and their games and everything, but I wanted to try to get the bond with them as quickly as I could. I mean, that trade that I made that summer to bring in 5 veteran guys that have been decorated, that at the moment of truth, you get them into the playoffs healthy, then the muscle memory and mind memory of what it's like to be great, comes to the surface, and it did, And so as soon as we got closer and closer and closer, Chicago was basically our toughest series. And once we got past that, these guys kept feeling it. And the more we kept filling up that with a real belief, it wasn't fake. I mean, it's real. You believe in that stuff. Sometimes you get the snake oil salesman coming to tell you something, but 15 strong, that meant something to them. And so that first meeting was great. And we won. We won in Chicago that night. Went on to Philadelphia. It was raining like hell in Philly. Got under, it was cold and rainy and everything. And we had a practice schedule, of course. And so we got on the bus, and I said to Ron, let's go around the block 4 or 5 times. And there was not a happy look on the face at 10 o'clock in the morning. Everybody tired, rainy. This is a day to hang out and sleep and get your rest. And so then we pull up in front of a movie theater. I never forget that. We all walk in there. Oh, where are we going? And I had set up to have the movie Glory Road shown, which was a story about the Kentucky Wildcats against Texas Western back in 1966, which was a watershed game to integration in the South. Bob McAdoo, he was the one guy that really said, oh, yeah, I remember. And he told me, he said, the reason why I went to North Carolina is because he was going to go up and go to school up north is because of that game and what happened that day. And so, and then the song at the end of that movie, Alicia Keys.
People get ready.
That's right.
There's a train.
People come in. So that night, in the locker room, I got my little iPod. So I walk in, and they're all waiting for a resounding speech of some kind, and I just hit play, and here we go.
Took them right back to it.
Jump on that train, man.
That's it.
Jump on the train. That's what the whole thing was about. So, I mean, that was, to me, Zoe was crucial, was absolutely crucial with those 5 additional players that we had. And that was it. We had those 8, and we had great performances by Derek or Shandon Anderson or Michael Doliak, Capono, come in and make some threes for you and stuff like that. But that's where he started to bond, and that's where he started to grow as a team.
Everybody understood what he was trying to do when it came to us getting to know each other, because we started looking at it as a responsibility. So we go out on the road, we party, we went to dinners together. We started doing a lot of stuff together. And then when our children had their birthdays,
Right.
we all showed up.
Right.
Guys showed up, which helped us develop even a stronger bond quickly, which is what he was trying to do.
So you get to the series against New Jersey, and that had to have some way to make you feel, in the sense of the full circle nature of to get now to start this gauntlet.
Sure. Yeah,
There's some familiar faces.
They had Vince Carter. They were serious. J Kidd. They were serious. They made that trade to get Vince there from Toronto. They traded me to Toronto, and we ended up getting out the first game in that series. And we bounced back and won 4 in a row. But that first game, they trounced us.
They did.
Yeah, they beat us by like 30 at home.
It was right after the Chicago series.
Yeah.
But after that, we collected ourselves, and that's what the playoffs are about, But when you have a veteran team of guys that have been there, you take your loss by 30, whether it's 1 or 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever. It doesn't make any difference. It's one game, and you get on to the next. That's all it is. That's a small little series of games. And so we played very well from that point on, right into the finals, and until those first 2 games were over with. So, but he's right. We took a couple of hits.
The Dallas Mavericks with a convincing victory once again, and they lead the NBA Finals 2-0.
You drop those first 2. You take care of business at home with the 3 back in the 2-3-2 days. That worked out perfectly. But right over your shoulder there, right over your right shoulder, is that one suit, that one shirt, and that one tie. But I really want to know. I want to hear a little bit about that. But also, do you still have any of that outfit somewhere?
Yes. Yeah,
That's
I do.
amazing. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Tell us.
I've worn it since.
Mm.
I've worn that. It's in a storage bin. It's still got the sweat and champagne.
15 strong. It's all good.
The shirt and the tie are just, I let it dry out, and I put it in a nice, with some, those little wooden balls down there, pine and all
Oh,
that
yeah,
stuff.
little cedar.
So it's this
Little
little
cedar in
cedar. And I haven't looked at it for a while. I wonder if it's even unraveled or anything like that. Yeah, but so I kept it. I also kept the suit that I had in 1985. Okay. And when we beat the Celtics at Boston Garden, I kept that suit, so I keep some of these things. Will they become memorabilia collections one day? I don't know, but
Coach, they
my
already
kids
are.
don't want them.
They already are. I found my tie from that locker room.
That's right.
And I thought it was gone. I had no idea.
Yeah.
But it still has Udonis's tears all over it. It's fantastic.
Udonis couldn't stop himself.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
It's like a 1,000-pound weight off my shoulders, man, because nobody never gave me a chance. Nobody never gave me nothing. And I just continue to work hard. I'm just thankful.
What was crazy is he wouldn't admit until the last game in Denver during the finals that he actually cried that night. He had it set up in his pocket. I'm interviewing, thinking it's going to be the last time I'm going to interview him as a player, and we're just reminiscing. And he goes, Jackson.
I can be honest now, at 43 years old, I did cry a little bit. Just a little bit.
That's all right.
06, he finally told the truth about 06 in the locker room. I've been waiting for that for 18 years.
He doesn't want to admit to being anything else other than Mr.
toughest.
305,
That's it.
man. The
That's
tough
it.
guy
But
from
you know
Liberty
how much
City.
he cared, man. He poured his heart and soul into that.
A reflection of you in Game 6, blocking everything that came your way and maybe some of the things that didn't.
Blocked by Mourning, does it again.
On the floor, cussing your teammates out to play harder.
Yeah.
When you see the images of that moment, what pops in your mind immediately to what you were trying to impart upon your teammates?
The will to want to just get it done because, first of all, that's a road less traveled. You never know when you're going to get back there again. It took me 13 years of my career to even experience that. There were moments throughout my career where I thought we had the team to get there, and we didn't get there. Then I realized how hard it is to get there and what I had to go through to get there. Kidney transplant, all of this stuff. And then boom, finally we're here, and we're gonna make sure that we try to get this thing done.
You're not going to let it slip away.
No.
When Zoe became so reactive to things that were slipping away, the lack of focus. And I know what play he got really upset with, in the backcourt, the pass from the backcourt. It was so sloppy in the third quarter that he ran it down and blocked the shot. And, he was shimming around on the floor like he was a fish out of water. But I knew where it was coming from. It's coming from this incredible desire. I've got this chance. It's game 6. There's only 15 minutes left in this game, and we can win the world championship. And so that's how you feel. But it wasn't like out of control emotion. It was like letting us all know, hey, let's stop messing around here. And
Right
so-
after that, I got up. I got in Gary's.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
It's all about
because it
Gary.
was ridiculous.
Jerry Pete,
Like,
GP.
man, you just threw the ball away, man. Yeah,
didn't pay
what do you-
attention.
The highest level of focus
Yeah,
is right now.
exactly,
right
man.
here.
Come on, man.
I told them right before the game, I looked them all in the eyes in the huddle. I said, I love you all like brothers, man. And let's leave it out here for each other.
So when I got my opportunity to contribute, I just left it out there. Just totally was so prepared. I was chomping at the bits to really want to help the team. And just stayed ready. In practice, got up extra shots, got up extra sprints, made sure that when the time came, that I was going to be prime and ready.
So when we sat down with Gary and confirmed by Dwyane, there was this moment where at least he felt, I imagine you had to co-sign and so did the other veterans, that the centerpiece of this team was no longer Shaquille. that it was Dwyane?
Yeah, it became pretty obvious as the season went on. Listen, he plays the game from the inside out. But with the way D-Wade was playing, it became pretty evident where the ball was going. Obviously, we still had to feed the big fella. We had to do that to keep him happy. D-Wade had to have the ball in his hands in order for us to get to where we needed to go.
I always knew that Dwyane was the guy. When I took over, I really felt that. And no disrespect to any of the Hall of Famers that we had on that team, SHAQ and Zoe dominating the league for years. But I think what made Dwyane even better, and as we progressed through the playoffs and each series got tougher and every possession got more and more pressure on you to win, and you're about energy and emotion and you're about efficiency, eventually you put the ball in your best playmaker's hands. But however, what he had to back him up were these two guys. Not only with what Antoine could do from out here, or Pose could do, or Gary or Jay Will, but anytime we needed a relief bucket, we went to Zoe, we turned 5, and went to SHAQ. And I played both of them at the time. I played both those suckers. Today they'd probably throw me out of the league if I did. We had 7-2 on one side. He's got the left box. Zoe had the right box. Zoe had his jump hook. And so anytime we needed a relief bucket, slow the game down, to give Dwyane a rest, you just sort of dump it into these guys and they can play.
Because there were so many Hall of Famers, all-stars, guys, as you noted, who had a pedigree coming in, it's easy to point to those guys. And even Udonis's play against Dirk is something we always talk about from that series. For each of you, who's somebody or some bodies from that crew that we don't talk about that we should?
Well, Udonis, to me was solid from the very first day he got here as a starting power forward. But he was always going to be a defender, a rebounder, and a complementary player who had no fear of the game. So he'll play in any situation, and he won't be affected by how big the game is or the moment is. But I think Antoine at times making let it fly. No. Yes. Good shot. Let it fly. No. Yes. But he could handle. He was more of a contemporary player as they would have today. 6'8", 220, 35. Yeah.
He would have thrived in this game.
Yeah.
Today's game, Antoine would have thrived tremendously.
Too.
Yeah.
He and Pose were big in game 6. Jay Will was humongous in game 6 when we closed out the Eastern Conference Finals. So everybody had their moments, and they took what came their way. But we all knew, Dwyane was going to be Mr. Crunch Time, and then we had the big fellas inside, and we had other playmakers too. So, and everybody made just enough plays, and I stayed out of their way as much as I.
Hence the reality of 15 strong. When you guys close your eyes and you think about images from that game 6, what first starts forming in your mind?
Yeah. It's Ben right here, man. It's just symbolic of a lot of things that we stood for, that we carried in our heart, and to take this throughout the playoffs with us, it meant something to us. Almost like we fed off the energy of it. It really did, so it was genius on his part.
The amazing thing is being not in the locker room, but spending every day with you all on the periphery and having no idea from any of you all what was in it.
That was the key. He said that it was a genius thing on my part. It could be desperation too.
Yeah.
I got to find something to make this bigger than the next, And so it was a connector. Ronnie Rothstein was telling me this the other night. He said, I remember that little, I sent Jay to the hardware store in the afternoon just before the first playoff game. And I said, I want you to get me one of those little red wheelbarrows. Not a big one, just a little one. These guys look like a little baby, wheelbarrow. It was in my office, and I'd put 5,000 cards in there every night, and then I would call a player, and they first couple of times, what is this. What are you doing? I said, you take this wheelbarrow, you push it into the locker room door, take it over there and dump it into the thing and just leave it on the side. SHAQ came in, Dwyane so came in, we all came in. Sometimes you can't just go play the game, play the series. You do have to have a theme and also a connection. And it isn't something that's made up. It's something that came to me throughout the course of the second half of the season, is that these were strong-willed, strong-minded men, 15 strong. That meant 12 players or 15 players and 3 coaches. It wasn't 34 strong, which is what, today, I mean, if you think back then, we had 4 coaches and 4 trainers. Now we got 32 coaches and 32 trainers downstairs. And so I don't know what we do today.
Progress, man. Progress.
But it was a connector, more of an emotional connector that the players really got behind after a while, because if you're a player and you're great and you have a belief system, sometimes there's something else that's personal that can take you to another level. And when we started to invest rosary beads or other keepsakes that were valuable to us in there and went above just the cards, it was personal. And so this is where the players took it on their own. It wasn't just me. I wasn't pumping this every night. I was filling up with cards, and I was putting my mother's stuff in there, my father's stuff in there. I put my dad's, he had a cigarette lighter, an old gold cigarette lighter. I threw that in there one night. And when we came in after the game and everybody was champagned out, everybody's ready to roll because you're out there on that stand and all that stuff. And that's the 10 minutes of glory that you forget about, is that 10, 15, 20 minutes up on the stand, being interviewed, lifting the trophy, families and friends all around you, a sea of faces that you love because they're all Heat fans. And now you dash back to the locker room and have people with a bottle of champagne to give it to you so you can give it to everybody as they come in. The first thing we did was go over to the shrine, the 15-strong shrine, and we started digging through it. And I said, no, did we take out our valuables? And SHAQ went, yeah. He said, oh, my God, yeah, I got chains and stuff in there. And Jay came up and said, no, Coach, I got these at halftime. So he took everything out that was personal, pictures and everything. And we let the cards fly all over the place.
Both of you are certified Hall of Famers. There's no one reason. It's a multitude of reasons why you're in. But this championship did what for your legacy, since it was your first, and what did it do for you, kind of solidifying all the championship winning that you had?
Well, I mean, it provided a lot of relief, because I worked my off throughout my whole career, coming up short. We're not even going to talk about the next series. There were moments when we thought it was our time, and just coming up short. So he would always say, you never know you're going to win one until you win one. When it finally happened, it was just sheer relief. I could actually exhale, and at the utmost joy. The utmost joy that you could find in a moment. And I soaked it all up, man.
Mm-hmm. And it takes me back, because he said relief.
Yeah.
It is. Every win during the regular season, as you know, is like relief, because you got to get on it and go to the next city. And so every loss is painful relief. So there isn't a lot of happiness and joy and all this stuff during the grind of an NBA season. And it gets even worse in the playoffs. And I'll never forget, and he's talking about the Knicks series, or at least 3 of those games that if he had won the ultimate game could have sent us on to either the Eastern Conference Finals or the Finals. And I'll never forget the last one we lost. It was in this building in 2000, I think, one. And we got beat in the 7th game here. And I walked into the locker room, walked through the locker room. Those guys are in the locker room. I mean, just devastated. And I know how devastated he was, and Tim and everybody, and Dan and PJ, and go on with the whole thing, and MASH. And so I went into my office, and I just sat at my desk, and I just sobbed. I couldn't get out of it. I couldn't stop it. And I just lost track of time. And the next thing I felt was the presence of somebody in my room, in the office. And I take my head out of my hands, and I look up, and there's he's standing at the door, defiant, chiseled, but also forlorn. And he had already done his 10 minutes of grief or whatever it was, or slam in the locker room, or whatever you do after that kind of loss. And he says to me, he says, "I know you're feeling down, Coach, but there's 12 guys in there that need you to come in and make us feel better." And I'm going, that's why we're refused at the hip, man.
Yeah.
This is the way it is. And that's what sports does. And so I knew Zoe for years. And in 2006, while we did know each other as great as we thought we did, we got to know each other better. Families, wives, significant others, the whole thing. And so that's what make winning it great. So I hadn't won it since 1988. And so I'd been here for 10 years. About time. I said, I needed this one as much as Zoe needed it. It was like my first one here.
Yeah.
And about time. And so that's how I felt. I was happy. I was so happy for the players. I was just relieved that, I got this big thing off my back in Miami a little bit. I promised this parade, and I was happy for Mickey and Madeline and, everybody. It just was a great time for the whole organization, not just for the players, but the whole organization. When you're part of a championship team, this is a big organization now. It wasn't as big when I got here, or even as big then, but everybody feels it. Everybody shares in it. Everybody got a piece of the jewel. Everybody got a ring or a pendant or something, and that we all wear proudly. And so, for me, it was just a great, great feeling. And I had a pretty good idea that, if I didn't win another one, that was going to be it for coaching for me. I coached another year and a half, or 2 years. Thank you. I took it right to the bottom. I had to take it to the bottom in 2008, and then we got to get a pick. But it was just an incredible experience. The parades, man. I mean, the parades and the rising, and all of that stuff. The parades and the confetti and the sea of hats. I mean, I take a look at the pictures now. I see like millions of people downtown.
Looks like it.
It was
Absolutely.
hot. It was great.
We didn't have all these
Yeah.
buildings
I
either.
know,
The
no, we
folks
didn't.
are
There's a lot of
just
them.
plowed
Yeah.
all the way through.
No,
So,
we didn't. No.
Moments are big in life, and you got to cherish the ones that are special that you can share with people.
It's a pleasure to share it then and now, gentlemen.
Yes,
Thank you
sir,
very
Dad.
much. We appreciate it.